The idea that your physical life, everything you observe around you currently, including this video, are effects, is pretty wild. It's a pretty wild idea, isn't it? However, if you understand they are effects, well, the question becomes, what is the cause of these so-called effects? And if we find out what the cause is, can we then influence the effects according to our own liking? Well, that is exactly what we're going to be discussing through this video. So I hope you are ready. Welcome back. I got a great book here. It's by Robert Collier. It's called The Secret of the Ages. He originally published this book back in 1925, so that's almost, again with Wallace's book, 100 years ago. Now the interesting part is these manuscripts contain so much great information that it's kind of shocking, again, that we're not taught any of this, generally speaking. I mean, again, we're dealing with ideas that even when I first read them, I never knew anyone that talked about any of this. And that's sad, because these are the ideas that will help you to improve your life in a much greater way, if that is what you want. I hope you want that. Otherwise there's no point in watching these videos, I suppose, unless they entertain you, which is fine as well. But today I wanted to go over a few paragraphs from one of the chapters in this book that are really powerful, because they deal with the idea that everything that we observe right now are effects. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, you're watching this video right now, but it's an effect. Now, what is the cause? Now, the cause obviously is an idea within my mind as the creator of this video. However, in your life, your results, the way you're living your life, well, those are effects that you observe. So if circumstances are not to your liking, what you observe right now, if that is not what you want, well, you're going to have to change the cause so that the effect, those so-called circumstances, can change as well. Now, what is the cause again? Well, the cause is your own mind, the ideas that you're working with. And that is what we want to change if we want to improve our lives. Now let's go over the first part of this chapter. It starts out, in our great-grandfather's day, when witches were believed to fly by night and cast their spell upon all unlucky enough to cross them, man thought that the power of sickness or health, of good fortune or ill, resided outside of themselves. We laugh today at such benign superstition, but even in this day and age, there are few who realize that the things they see are but effects. Fewer still who have any idea of the causes by which those effects are brought about. Every human experience is an effect. You laugh, I laugh, you weep, you joy, you sorrow, you suffer, or you are happy. Each of these is an effect, the cause of which can be easily traced. Now, before we get into that, this is something very, very important, again, as I said at the beginning of this video. If you want to improve your life, you're going to have to reach a point where on a daily basis, you literally understand that everything you see is an effect. And with that awareness, you know that if your life is bad, in a bad spot right now, you could change it by using your mind. First and foremost, keep this constantly in mind. Now, what else did he have to say? Well, he said, what is the cause back of all of it? If we can find it and control it, we can control the effect. So we're talking about these causes of how you feel, what your life is about. Now, he said, we shall no longer be the football of fate. We shall be able to rise above the conception of life in which matter is our master. There is but one answer to any of this. The world without is a reflection of the world within. We image thoughts of disaster upon our subconscious minds, and the genie of our mind finds a way of bringing them into effect. Even though we stay home, even though we take every possible precaution, the mental image is what counts, be it for good or ill. It is a devastating or beneficent force, just as we choose to make it. Now, he said, the world is a looking glass, and gives back to every man the reflection of his own thought. What this essentially means is that no matter what happens in your life, you have a choice. You can either let it influence you negatively, or you can start working with positive ideas and express that through the world. Now, this is not always easy to do. In fact, this is a struggle throughout your entire life, mine, everybody's. Because what I'm talking about is the fact that if you walk throughout life, for example, you come across someone that's very negative for whatever reason. Are you going to think negative thoughts because of their negativity? Now think about this, because this is what happens to many of us, even me. At times, I don't like to admit it, of course, I'm trying to work on it. It's something you have to keep working on. But for example, if somebody does something negative to you, there's a tendency to start thinking negative thoughts about them. But what we're talking about here is that we're observing an effect. So that person's negativity is an effect, the cause being their own negative thinking. This means that if we observe them act in negative ways towards us or towards others, if we know it's an effect, we can also counteract that by still having a positive cause within our minds, so that our behavior is positive, showcasing a positive effect from their point of view. Now, that doesn't mean that they will become positive towards us necessarily. But what I'm getting at is that we don't have to let the outside world control us at all, because they are just effects. Everything here is an effect. This building that I'm standing in, the clothes I'm wearing, these were first ideas, concepts of the mind. Now they're thrown into form, and they're actually an effect, the cause of which lies within my mind, the minds of the people who built this building, the people who made this jacket, the clothes. It's the same in your world. Really grasp this, really think about this, because from this angle you'll start to see how you can improve your life by simply working with your own mind. That's really all there is to this, to your whole life experience. You create your own reality by the way you use your mind. Now a little further on in the chapter, he wrote, "The successful man or woman has no time to think of failure. They are too busy thinking up new ways to succeed." Now really think about that. Successful people are just too busy thinking up new ways to succeed. Well, that's exactly what I'm doing with this channel in my case. I mean, we can all come across situations that we don't like. I have them, you have them, everybody has them. But we should become trained to have no time to think about any of that. Or if we do, not for too long. So if something negative happens in your world, okay, it's part of life. But then change it as soon as possible. If it takes you a couple hours, that's fine. If you can do it within minutes, that's fine too. But don't stay there for days on end, because a successful person has no time to think of such matters. They're thinking about how they can keep improving their lives, and that is where most of their attention lies, including my own. It's really the case for me. And I hope it is the case for you. And if not, you can always train yourself and practice becoming good at this, because again, we're trained to have most of our attention focused on what's wrong. So we can fight the things that are wrong. But we don't want to fight anything, we want to create something better, something greater. And we do that through the mind, which is the cause of everything. The cause of your life is your mind. And then the effects will take care of themselves. Now he went on about the following. All about you is energy, electronic energy, exactly like that which makes up the solid objects you possess. The only difference is that this loose energy around and about you is unappropriated. It is still virgin gold, undiscovered, unclaimed. You can think it into anything you wish, into gold or dross, into health or sickness, into strength or weakness, into success or failure. Which shall it be? There is nothing either good or bad, said Shakespeare, but thinking, your thinking and mine, makes it so. The understanding of that law will enable you to control every other law that exists. In it is to be found the cure for all ills, the satisfaction of all want and all desire. It is creative mind's own profusion for man's freedom. That's some powerful stuff again right there. Let's go back. You can think this energy, as he called it, into anything you wish. Well, I like to say you can think anything you want. But as he said, are you going to think it into health or sickness, into strength or weakness, or into success or failure? Again, if you think of your dreams and goals, from what angle are you looking at them? Because many people are looking at them from an angle of negativity, of worries, of doubts, of fears, of impossibility, of failure. But you can just as easily switch that around and start thinking from the angle, I can make this work, I can make this happen, I can do this, I want to do this, I want to create this, I want to improve my life. And you start focusing from that angle towards that improvement that you want to make. If you do that, well, then your life is going to change. But again, it's such a subtle thing, you might miss it. But through this video, I hope it reminds you again to very carefully observe your own consciousness, to see when you are contradicting yourself within your own mind, because the mind is the cause of the physical world. Now at the very end of the chapter, there's this one paragraph that I still wanted to share with you, and it said, practice looking forward, always looking forward to something better. Better health, finer physique, greater happiness, bigger success. Take these mental breathing exercises every day, pouring your vital force into these new patterns, and see how quickly the good effects will be apparent to all. See how readily you can tune in on wavelengths of health and happiness and prosperity. Your mental radio is always open, every waking hour. Keep it attuned to happy thoughts, to good instead of evil. For whatever type of thought you entertain, whatever wavelength you tune in on, that is the pattern your vital force will take, for good or bad. So be sure to exile all thoughts of fear and worry and disease and lack that have been troubling you. Be sure to tune them out on your mental radio and inhale and entertain only those you want to see realized. Now that was the end of the chapter, and again I took a pencil, wrote something there because of the inspired ideas that came to me. So I wrote, the trick is to live and express greater visions and thoughts regardless of your current reality. Now really let that one sink in as well. The trick for you and me is to think greater thoughts regardless of what we're currently facing. So again, if you're dealing with negative people, you can still think great thoughts about them or anything else, so they don't influence you. It's the same with your own physical life in general. You might have circumstances that you do not like. How are you going to change them? By changing your thinking, because what happens is that change in thought changes your feelings, and that changes your actions. Your actions create those effects called your circumstances. Therefore, working with first cause is the only thing you have to do. If you can keep this in mind, then you can start right now, wherever you are, start changing your mind in a better direction. And again, watch what happens to your emotions. If you do it right, if you're honest with yourself, you're going to feel better. And once you start feeling better, you're going to want to behave better. Once you start behaving better, the result starts to become better. It's a spiral that keeps on improving, on and on and on. No matter what your goal is, create it first in your mind. As you said, you have to practice looking forward to something better. Better health, finer physique, greater happiness, bigger success. I like that one. Bigger success, right? But that's what we're after. And when we say success, we don't necessarily mean money. I mean, if you're happier than you were yesterday, it's a success. But it could also be wealth-wise. It could be whatever you find important for your own existence right now, which you feel like is lacking. We want to get rid of the lack and replace it with the good that we desire. At the very start of this chapter, I even took a pencil again and wrote the following. Always build better visions and thoughts compared to what you observe. It's another way of saying the same thing I did on the end. I'll repeat it. Always build better visions and thoughts compared to what you observe. Now, when I deal with people, this is what I'm going to be doing over time, more and more, because I already had a taste of this. But what I realized is there's an infinite source of supply. You connect to it through your mind. What I mean by that is there's no limit to all the great good ideas that you can find within consciousness, then express them towards others, towards this world. Create the effect. Others will look at you and they're like, you're kind of positive, you're kind of interesting, something is different about you. Yeah, what is different about you is that you change your mind and you start to behaving different. Therefore, they see the change in you that you secretly make within your own consciousness without their knowledge. But with this, you'll have awareness and can start working on it consciously from this day forward. It is so important that we understand that this all is a world of effects. So if I don't like my room, the way to change this is to build a different concept of what I want the room to look like. It's the same for you and your home. That is a very simple example. Now try to grasp that you can do the same concerning goals in general. When you're not happy in certain areas of your life that have nothing to do with a home, well, you can still approach it. You're like, okay, what I'm observing right now, the way things are effects. I know the cause lies in my mind. The way people behave is an effect, and the effect is determined by the cause in their mind. So if they are negative, if they stay negative, I have no other option than to change my own mind about them, to keep seeing them in a positive light. So I'm always inspired and compelled to act positive to them, no matter what they throw at me. Well, if you really have to get out of a situation, you can simply build the concept of having a different reality and move towards that different reality. Because the physical world is an effect. Everything is an effect. However, we let the effects control our minds. We're just having it backwards. We should change it around. We want our minds to control the way we live. The way we experience reality should be determined by the way we use our minds instead of having the physical world abuse the mind. Grasping that everything that you witness in your current reality is an effect is one of the first steps that you should take in order to develop wisdom, new and better awareness of what you're capable of doing. Because with such awareness, you can look right now around you to watch anything you want to change, and then remember, even though it's not like how you would want it to be right now, that's an effect. Remember the cause, it's your mind. Build a different mental concept concerning this area of your life, and then let it express itself with and through you so it can change your reality around. Because then what happens, someday in the not so distant future, if you change your mind in the right way, what happens is that that effect that you're currently observing will change into the concept that you first built into your mind. And then at that time, you're going to look at the results and you're like, these are effects that I don't like anymore. What are you going to do? Build a new concept and give it expression. And that is how you keep growing and growing and growing towards a greater and greater life for yourself. But so many people get caught up in the effects themselves and feel stuck. But you don't have to be stuck anymore with this awareness. I hope you understand that. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. And as always, never forget that we are the dreamers.